Good morning. Welcome to RSBN Live. Thank you for joining us on what is sure to be a very Merry Christmas. We cover the latest from the Trump White House, the President of the United States. No public events today, so if there's breaking news, we will bring that right to you. In the meantime, we will celebrate all the joy of the season and the latest he had to share via Truth Social as well. Let's go to that now with cut number one, Mr. Director. President Trump talking about, of course, the failing fake news and the failing New York Times and their lies and purposeful misrepresentations in a serious threat to the national security of our nation. Their radical left unhinged behavior, writing fake articles and opinions in a never-ending way must be dealt with and stopped. They are the true enemy of the people. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. And when he signs like that, you know he's writing that directly, as he does most of the time. Also with that, some nice words to our friends over at the Ingram Angle with cut number two. Thank you to the highly respected Alex Marlowe, the editor-in-chief for Breitbart. His nice words on the Ingram Angle. Likewise to Jason Miller, a senior advisor to the president, and Rod Blagojevich, the former governor of Illinois. So nice, President DJT. Also, with that, you might enjoy this next video with cut number three. Triple H and Bryson DeChambeau of wrestling and golf fame, reminding everyone how to keep on moving. If you have any questions about the new year and workout remedies, you can investigate those, work those through, but enjoy these holiday times, these festive gatherings, and don't worry so much about the calories consumed. But the important thing, as Triple H reminds us, make sure to move as we are working to make America healthy again.
All right, we are outside of the White House, waiting just to go into the Oval Office to meet with the president. People asking, what do you do during the holidays to stay in shape, to get stronger, to be healthy? The thing is, I think if you're just trying to figure that out, enjoy your holidays. Enjoy the holiday season. Take time, spend it with your families, do whatever it is to make you have a good time. But do something active. It can be simple.
What I would recommend is not only just through January, but through the rest of the year, focus on every single day doing some sort of aerobic activity, 10 to 15 minutes. If it's push-ups, pull-ups, whatever it is, make sure you're staying healthy and active. We know we're behind screens all day long. We know we're not in the gym enough, but go out and make it a responsibility to yourself to become healthier in 2026. Keep it all the way to December next year.
Just do something, get moving. If America just gets moving, we're all gonna be stronger, we're all gonna be healthier, we're all gonna be in way better shape next year.
Thank you to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. They love this festive, generous time of year, but it is also cold and flu season. So stock up on the Tamiflu, antibiotics, ivermectin, and much, much more. In fact, over 300 essential medications. So you have that on hand in case anyone gets sick, with all the togetherness as we celebrate with family and friends the most wonderful time of year. 10% off now. It's code RSBN10. That's RSBN10. Also, NAD+, methylene blue, hydrochloroquine. Again, 300 plus medications with emergency medical kits to send on over to your loved ones, and also to have in your medicine cabinet, all stocked up and ready to go as you travel for the holiday season. It's a U.S. licensed doctor who reviews the order, sends it right to your door. No red tape, no bureaucracy, no insurance, no problem. Just a pharmaceutical note and that RSBN 10 code for now 10% off of your must-have meds this holiday season. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Thank you for sponsoring us on the right side of history. And there's Kalshi.com/RSBN. Who will win the college football championship come January 19th? Those Buckeyes, the Hoosiers, the Bulldogs? Will the Crimson Tide prevail, or someone else in the lineup? We know Oregon, the Ducks, are flying their way towards the championship. It's going to be a star-studded matchup. Who will be Times Person of the Year? Well, my Chicago Bears get to the Super Bowl and repeat what they did 40 years ago with that Super Bowl shuffle. Kalshi.com/RSBN. For sports, music, culture, politics, and more, you might as well trade and bet on what's happening in America, and it's all there for you. Trade on anything at Kalshi.com/RSBN. Yesterday, we played for you what I believe to be the best speech, not only of the vice president's tenure, but a speech very similar to Citizenship in the Republic given by Teddy Roosevelt, to a time for choosing given by Ronald Reagan in the 1964 Republican National Convention to nominate Barry Goldwater in the modern conservative movement. But the person who kicked off Turning Point USA's AmFest, none other than the CEO, Erica Kirk, and someone who has been criticized in all different directions, I think unfairly so, considering the loss she had this year, just 3 months ago, and how this organization is bravely moving forward to help save the country. In fact, endorsing Vice President J.D. Vance for 2028 if he so chooses to run for the presidency. So that's an Erica Kirk endorsement, including an endorsement from Turning Point Action, as President Trump's successor could ultimately be his vice president. President Trump has said it himself. If it's a combo of maybe it's JD, maybe it's Marco, maybe the two of them combine, I think that's quite an heir apparent to the MAGA America First agenda as they work overtime. As you saw them yesterday at Mar-a-Lago, the Secretary of State, Secretary of War, and Secretary of the Navy joining President Trump to release the Trump-class fleet and a robust steel-infused warships that will be a cornerstone to modern technological warfare. But the person who kicked off this Turning Point USA event, which talked on countless social to domestic and international policies over the weekend in Phoenix, Arizona, none other than the CEO, Erica Kirk. And in case you missed it, here's her opening speech.
So those of you who know, Charlie was very good about having a surprise for every AmFest. And we are so blessed to have you. We are so grateful. I mean...
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. I am honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Love you guys. So we're just going to dive right into this. You had some fun words for Governor Newsom. I have to read these tweets because they're amazing and they are so funny. Okay, first one. We'll do this one. Unless you want to read it in your own voice. I think it'd be really great. Okay.
Oh, Gabby Poo, it only gets worse from here for you, buddy. It's the end of the road for you, my love. Get on the nearest jet ski and let that beautiful hair blow in the wind. It'll make you happier than this race that you will not win. Enjoy life. Peace.
Okay. One more.
Why not? Imagine being the guy running on wanting to see trans kids. Haha, not even a trans adult would run on that. Normal adults wake up and think they want to see healthy, safe, happy kids. Not Gav. The Gav nots. Gav not in, Gav out. out. Send in the next guy. I'm bored.
So I'm just going to let you riff. Like, I want you to say whatever you want to say to Mr. Newsom.
Dear Newscom, we don't have a problem cleaning up the scum if we have to. Please tread lightly. That's what I would say to Gavi Poo.
So with regard to the current administration, what has been maybe the biggest surprise for you, or something that you just really has been put on your heart that you've learned about our president and our vice president?
Well, I have the utmost respect and admiration for our president. He has, I don't know if he even knows this, but he's given so many people hope that there's a chance to beat the bad guys and to win, and to do it with your head held high and your integrity intact. He's from Queens, New York, like me. So, but what it's shown me personally is sometimes, you know, even in the worst feeling times in your life, you think that you're never going to come back from it. But you do. And our president shows that. He's been through every single thing a person could be through publicly. Having to constantly be lied on. It's not really that funny. Until you are in that person's shoes that's being lied on, you'll never understand what it feels like. That person is a human being. They have a family who has to read those lies. And that's not, and it's just not fair. But this administration is full of people with heart and soul. And they make me proud of them. Our vice president, he makes me, well, I love both of them. But they're both powerful men, smart, strong, all of that. But both of them have a very uncanny ability to be someone that you relate to. I can relate to them. When I hear them speak, I know that they're one of us. Like, I know that they're not. Don't you guys agree? They haven't lost touch of the world. You know, they're still connected to the world and what's happening in the world, with the younger people and older people, with the richer people and not so rich people. They have the ability to still connect and be real and make us feel proud to be American.
So why now have you been involved with speaking about politics? What was kind of the turning point for you? Yes.
What was the turning point? Well, I just got tired of being pushed around. Sometimes you just get tired of it, and then you realize, wait a minute, I have something inside of me that's stronger than what's out there. That's right. So when you've had enough, you realize, wait a minute, why do I even care about these people and what they think? Who are they? They don't even know who they are. So I'm not going to back down anymore. I'm not going to back down ever again.
Amen. Can the students in the room raise your hand? Wow. This question is for you guys. So you guys are very courageous and bold on your campus. Nikki, I know our students feel this way, but why do you think speaking your mind has become so controversial?
Because people no longer are using their minds, their brains. So right now, just imagine we're not allowed to have a different opinion anymore. We're not allowed to think out loud anymore. We're not, this is not what the world used to feel like. And especially for the young people, I don't want them growing up in a world where they feel like that. They deserve for their voices to be heard. They have valid feelings and they're thinking about things, and it deserves attention. We should listen to what they're saying. And if you're growing up in a world that tells you it's taboo to say something that the masses don't agree with, that's not okay. And we're not going to have it. And I love this. It's giving the younger people confidence that they will need later on in life. You guys will need it, and you will have it. So I'm rooting for you.
Amen. Amen. Again, Charlie would always say, it really does not take skill to be courageous. It takes a choice. It takes a decision. And I want to say again, thank you for coming and being courageous and being able to share your heart with us. And the reason why that also holds true sentiment-wise is because I know that you are getting a lot of backlash from your own industry. What is your reaction to that?
I didn't notice.
Amen. I feel the same way. When people are like, what do you think about them? I'm like, I don't think about them.
Bingo. We don't even think about them.
We don't have time to. We're too busy building, right?
Yeah, we're the cool kids.
Okay.
The other people, they're the ones who are still just disgruntled, but really they're just disgruntled with themselves. They are angry with themselves, you guys. So you can't wake up and think about somebody who is determined to just stay mad. I literally tell them, stay mad.
Amen.
Stay mad. Because we're going to stay joyful,
yep,
and peaceful and iconic and smart, yes. And we're going to stay thinkers. In a world that doesn't want us to think, we will think. By ourselves, on our own, we will continue to think.
This is something I know that's really important to you and on your heart. And I personally want to know what inspired you to speak out for the Christians that are being slaughtered in Nigeria.
Well, and that brings me back to our great president and this administration and our great country. That we take for granted that there right now in this world are people who cannot worship God as they please, where they please. We take it for granted because we have it. We can't even imagine not having that right. But every time we pray and fellowship, we have to remember the people that are right now in this world hiding to pray and fellowship. And we have to pray for them. And first of all, Nigeria is a place I've always loved. Someone very dear to me, my pastor, is Nigerian. I have lots of Nigerian barbs. And so hearing that people are being kidnapped, and while they're in church, people are being kidnapped, people are being killed, brutalized, all because of their religion. And that should spark outrage in the great America. And that's what it did. And again, we're not backing down anymore. We are not going to be silenced by the bullies anymore, okay? Know that. Hear that. Receive that, bullies. We won't be silenced ever again. We will speak up for Christians wherever they are in this world. Amen.
Amen. I don't know if you can see this at home, but she's getting a ton of standing ovations.
I love you guys so much. Thank you guys.
So going along that thread, can you tell us about your relationship with God? Because I think a lot of us want to hear.
Sure. Well, my relationship with God started, when I was a toddler in Trinidad. My grandmother, if things got spicy in the house, like if the kids and grandkids were arguing or fighting, she would make all the little kids go in her room and make us say and say a prayer. So later on in my life, not much later, when I was like 10, 11, 12, I started going to church in New York. And it changed everything. It changed my life for the better because I was going every week. I was hearing the word of God be preached. And then I was going home and I was applying it to my life. Even as a little girl, I learned how to pray very early. I always had this faith that made people think, the kind of faith that you think a person is crazy, like, oh, please, like, But I had that faith instinctively once I started hearing about God and, just getting more into the Bible. I got baptized when I was about, yep, amen. I got baptized when I was about 13. I got baptized. And I have just always applied those teachings to my life. I try to. And that's the thing. We're not perfect. We try. Sometimes I would wake up and feel so far removed from not God, but from fellowship. I was like, oh my God, I used to go to church on Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday every week, like literally 3 days out of the week. And then later on in your life, you become busy and you start thinking, oh, well, God is in my heart. And, but then sometimes you can be in an industry as well that pulls you away even more. So lately, I've been feeling like, like if you haven't seen a long-lost best friend for a long time and then you bump into them again, that's how it's been feeling for me, like just going back to God and praying and talking to him. And, and he said to me, where were you? Where have you been? I've been waiting on you. And since that moment that God had that conversation with me, I've been in such a better space. Because now it's just, I'm thinking about, is God pleased with this? Not if the bullies and uglies are pleased. But if God is pleased, and when you have that personal relationship with God, guess what? Even in school, he's there. Wherever you are and whenever you need it, you have something that you can tap into immediately. It's immediate. You don't have to leave a message. He's not going to call you back. He's there immediately. As soon as you call on him, on the first ring, he's going to answer. And I want you guys to remember that. You're young, and first of all, I want to say, I'm proud of you guys. This is a major, to be so young, for you guys that are in college, to be so young and to care this much, this early in your life, it tells us how smart you are, and it tells us that there's hope for our future. So God bless you. Congratulations, you guys. You're amazing. Congratulations. You guys are amazing, okay? Know it. Feel it. Yes. Yes. Proudly. Be it proudly. Be who you are proudly.
Amen.
Yes.
So what have you, I mean, you're an amazing mother. What have you seen that has been a struggle for young women today? And then also, since both of us have little boys, I would love for you to also talk about the male side of that question as well.
Okay, well, something that I've noticed recently is that for little girls, I think that no matter how you look, we should be trying to instill into them to be proud of how they look. Recently, in the media, it's almost been like a push to, it's not just making young black children feel proud of themselves, but it's almost like doing that and at the same time telling other children not to be proud of themselves. And I don't want any child feeling that way. If as black women, we felt that we were not being represented and not being admired for our beauty, if we felt like that as black women, why would we want to do that to other women?
Amen.
Why would we now need to make other people downplay their beauty so that we can feel, no, that's not how it works. I don't need someone with blonde hair and blue eyes to downplay their beauty because I know my beauty. Do you understand? It doesn't bother me that a woman feels and says that she's beautiful.
Amen.
Why shouldn't she feel that? Why have we gotten to a point where certain colors or certain kinds of people have to be afraid of loving themselves and loving the way they look? Like, isn't that wild?
Yeah.
And so for little girls, I don't want what was done to little black girls done to little white girls. I don't want it done to any girls. I want all the little girls in the world to know that you are unique. You are beautiful. You are you. And you can compliment another girl. You can compliment another woman and still know that you are epic and amazing. So that's what I would say for the girls. And I know I know my adults understand clearly where I'm going with that, I don't like that. I don't like people making other people feel badly about themselves in any way. We need to nurture young girls. Yes, whether they are black, white, Asian, Hispanic, they still need to be nurtured. They cannot continue to pay for other people's sins. They haven't done anything wrong.
Amen. And what do you think about for young men? For young men.
And for young men, don't be new scum. Yes. See, dear young men, you have amazing role models like our handsome, dashing president. And you have amazing role models like the assassin J.D. Vance, our vice president. And when I say that,
trust me, there's nothing new under the sun that I have not heard, so you're fine. Yes, we did. I love you. I love you. You have to laugh about it, truly. I have been called every single thing, and you know what? God is so good, you let it roll right off your back. And this is what's so beautiful about this moment, because if the internet wants to clip it, who cares? I love this woman. She's an amazing woman. She has a soul and a heart for the Lord, and words are words, but I know her heart, and it doesn't even matter. And you say what you want to say because I know your heart. I will not judge that.
Sister. Thank you. For boys, be boys.
Amen.
Be boys. It's okay. Be boys. There's nothing wrong with being a boy.
Amen.
How about that?
Amen.
How powerful is that? How profound is that?
Amen.
Boys will be boys, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, that's what I want to say.
What's something the media and the world in general misunderstands about you?
Oh, I think people think maybe that I'm mean, or, maybe when you have a strong presence as a woman, it's easy to just box you into one box, like one category of mean or, other words.
They want to put you in a box to be able to label you what they want you to be, but you're so much more than that.
Because you intimidate them, and they want to find something. And if they can't find something, they'll make something up.
They will.
And so they'll put a label on you. But, it doesn't, what people misunderstand about me now, I don't care about it. I really don't. In fact, I love that they misunderstand me now.
I do too, because it shows that you're not a part of this world. Someone once told me, do not be surprised when the world acts like the world. And I held on to that so much, because even being in this role now, they're trying to figure me out. Okay, enjoy. I am who I am. There's nothing to hide. And I know you feel the same way when people misunderstand you, and you're like, okay, well, I have an audience of one. Well, now I have an audience of two, but I have an audience in heaven. And I know the Lord knows me, Lord knows you, and he put everything in you to be able to make a difference in this world. Likewise to all of you students and everyone else here. And to go into that further, I know that and I'll end on this, I know that a lot of you guys have been hearing about, we are doing this for Charlie, and we're doing this for his legacy, but we're also doing it because each and every one of you guys have a legacy. And I want you guys, when you leave this conference, to take something with you. And when it gets tough out there, I want you to hold with you a word. It could be anything. For me, it's Charlie. But for you guys, it could be, I don't know, refocus, family, children, future, something. Hold that word in your heart so that when you go back out into the world and you have someone screaming in your face, someone spitting in your face, someone flipping your table on campus, someone making fun of you because you're a conservative, someone making fun of you because you love the Lord, say that word to yourself out loud or internally to refocus your brain and your heart and your soul, to know that you're about something so much bigger and greater. The legacy with Turning Point USA, yes, but also for yourself. And so, Nikki, I want to ask you in closing, what is something that you want to leave as a legacy in this world for your family, for your baby, for just everything?
Well, that it's okay to change your mind. Yeah, it's okay to change your mind. You don't have to, you know, sometimes there's a lot of things projected onto you when you change your own mind. You know, they project fear, shame, onto people who don't think and do as they think and do. But I've traveled the world. I've performed for huge crowds all around the world. And no matter how many songs I do on that stage, it didn't mean as much as this. Because this is a direct link for younger people. This is a direct link between young people and God. And there's been a lack of that. There's been a lack of that in our media, in our everyday conversations. People have been, you know, interestingly enough, people have been, Christians have been being persecuted right here in our country in different ways. So when we talk about Nigeria and other countries, know that prior administrations saw nothing wrong with that. And that's what was wrong with them. I truly feel that there are people out there who felt good about chastising Christians right here in our country. And it's kind of really, really sick. We can't let people like that be in power, you guys. That's the truth. I can sugarcoat it and laugh and kiki, but the truth is, I am here today to tell you guys that. We absolutely cannot let people who have a problem with us worshiping God, we cannot have them in power. We cannot have them in power. All you have to do is look at what is happening in other places in the world. Look at what is being done to Christians all around the world. And ask yourself why people in this country that were in positions of power felt so comfortable to try to take our voices from us. They were that afraid. They are that intimidated. They are that insecure. They are that small inside that hearing us and seeing us worship God irritated them. Our spirit irritates them because when we speak, they get shown up. When the truth walks in the room, the lies hide. They don't come out willingly. You gotta pry it out of them. They hide because they don't want you or anyone to know who they really are behind closed doors, because even they know how evil it is to try to deprive people of worshiping God.
Amen. We love you. Nicki Minaj.
Thank you, guys. My darling, thank you for having me.
And Nicki Minaj at the Turning Point USA America Fest right before the Vice President of the United States. A dear friendship clearly with Erica Kirk, the CEO of what is continuing to be an organization that is changing the landscape of American politics by really being a gateway for young conservatives or people just interested in politics. I can't tell you how many times where I had worked there, and during this time of year, now that Student Action Summit has moved to the summer, we would have Student Action Summit SAS in West Palm Beach during the time now where AmFest is taking up that slot between December 18th and the 21st, and how many students would come up just to see, hey, I don't know where I am politically. I just want to get to know what this is all about, and a simple invitation and a welcome can lead to a life change for the better. And the movement growing with Nicki Minaj's very brave statement, including the Aldeans, Jason and Brittany, who are just saying simply, as Miss Minaj said, I'm done listening to the critics. I don't care what they have to say. I want free thinkers. I want people to go back to church. I want to stand up for Christians in Nigeria. So kudos to Nicki Minaj for having that boldness and that bravery, because so many people in the entertainment industry afraid to make their right-wing stances known because of so-called backlash. Well, some people like the Aldeans and Nicki Minaj are to be commended for saying, to hell with that. I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. Thank you to angelpaste.com/RSBN for, angelpaste.com. It's fantastic as well. The miracle cream that keeps on giving this time of year. I use this every day. The original miracle cream. It's vitamin B infused, non-GMO, no chemicals. The orange option as well, vitamin C infused. Again, no chemicals, non-GMO. Something is special with making America healthy again. This company doing just that. They're Christian-owned. They hire veterans. They're out of Spring, Texas, right off the Gulf of America. Experience the miracle today. That is angelpaste.com. Explore their various options. A last-minute stocking stuffer, or if you're late on that Christmas shopping, maybe a nice gift before the new year. They also, again, have that original facial spray that is quite good. Again, non-GMO, non-chemicals for that first date or that 50th wedding anniversary, anything in between. Again, Christian-owned. They hire veterans. They're the miracle that is angelpaste.com. And speaking of making America healthy, again, covepure.com/RSBN. Important to have on hand for your overall health. It all starts in the gut, and now $250 off the holiday sale. covepure.com/RSBN. The leader in reverse osmosis systems with its ClearWave technology, removing 99.9% of the fluoride, the pesticides, the chemicals out of the water. And we see that Utah and Florida directly addressing this in their legislation being signed by Governors Spencer Cox and Ron DeSantis. covepure.com/RSBN. Great for changing temperatures fast, whether it's hot water, cold water, lukewarm water. If you like tea this time of year, as I do, you don't have to wait for it to steep on the stove. You can have that hot and ready to go immediately. covepure.com/RSBN. Also, if you're renting, very good to have. You don't need a plumber or to drill the holes and all of the nonsense that comes with a mess in setting up a reverse osmosis system. What you see is what you get, no bigger than your coffee maker. Protect what matters most. The holiday sale, $250 off right now for those who are hard to buy for this Christmas season. covepure.com/RSBN. Our latest sponsor as well, Neutronics. A very good way to get your edge back, men out there. It's a natural testosterone booster. There's a free IGF-1 plus platinum with this man's edge auto ship. So scan the QR code right now. We're seeing this testosterone crisis in men. It's happening like never before. That's why Neutronics Labs exists to fight back and give men their edge. Just like legendary boxer Roy Jones Jr. knows what it takes to stay strong, sharp, and stay dangerous. Frank Stallone, the brother of Sly Stallone, knows it too. Real men don't fade away. They fight back. They take control of what they can. That's why we stand behind man's edge from Neutronics Labs, the only testosterone 1 booster on the market powered by the world's strongest and purest IGF-1, combined with clinically backed ingredients like fenugreek, and also shown naturally to increase testosterone levels by 46% in studies. This isn't a weak delivery. Man's Edge fuses a patented liposome delivery system along with NO2 designed for up to 98% of absorption, so that nitrous oxide to build up your testosterone intake. So your body actually uses what you take: more strength, more drive, more confidence and determination. No excuses, no apologies, no backing down. This is about making men great again. If you're ready to reclaim your power, if you're ready to be all you can be, take your edge back with Man's Edge. Stay strong, sharp, and have that mental clarity. Stay ready with Man's Edge. NeutronicsLabs.com/Rumble. That's where you go to visit or scan the QR code there now. NeutronicsLabs.com/Rumble. Another great gift for the stocking stuffer. Therefore, the gentleman in your lives, Man's Edge. Thank you to Neutronics for sponsoring us on the right side of history. And as we have original programming today to cover the latest from the Trump White House, inside and outside the Beltway, President Trump and the First Lady down in West Palm Beach, and also releasing, might have that photo for you later, their Merry Christmas photo, the official one from the White House, all donned in black tie, and right in that foyer where so many people from Hanukkah celebrations to Christmas celebrations enjoying this festive time of year. But the president in West Palm Beach for what was yesterday an announcement on the Trump-class submarines, carriers, and warships, all made of steel, with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Secretary of the Navy John Phelan on hand with the president from Mar-a-Lago in the prime time yesterday, in case you missed that. And also AmFest from this weekend, Turning Point USA's cornerstone and keynote conference in the great state 48. We just watched Nicki Minaj in her interview with Eric Kirk. Well, Erica kicked it off back on December 18th last week, and we have her entire speech from last Thursday.
This is a full circle moment for me. 2 years ago, my husband stood on this stage and said, "Here I am, Lord, use me." And boy, did he. You know, it's really interesting. The enemy has thrown a lot of curveballs at us today and this week and the past 3 months, and one of them is the fact that my entire speech has been wiped because my iPad won't even turn on, so that's a fun technical difficulty that we can figure out. So we're just going to wing it. We're just going to wing it. I was going to share with you stats. I was going to share with you all of the things that we have going on building. So I'm going to just start it off with this. So last year, Charlie, I'll rewind. AmFest is Charlie's Super Bowl. Thank you. These are the stats. I got the stats, no speech. So again, we're going to wing it. So, AmFest last year, Charlie reminded me that this was his Super Bowl. And for those of you who are sitting in the back, my husband was very intentional about making sure he was in the back because he wanted to sit in what he considered maybe the worst seat in the arena. And he made it a point to listen to the whole intro video, every speaker video, and he would tell the team, louder, more bass, more noise. He would say, there's a treble and a bass knob. Turn the ones to make it right. So even if you feel like you're in the worst seat in the house, you're not, because Charlie's sitting one of those. So you're in good company up there. But what's also very interesting is that when Charlie first and the team first came up with, since I don't have a speech, I might as well just walk around. When Charlie first came up with AmFest, he thought to himself, who would not love to celebrate America? So we're going to name it AmFest. And that's what he did. And I'll never forget, last year, we were blessed to have President Trump come and speak. And afterwards, Charlie turns to me, starts running. I'm like, where are you going? He's like, I'm about to go on Air Force One. I'm in heels trying to chase him to figure out what is going on. He goes, okay, so I got to get on Air Force One. I was like, good for you, baby. He's like, okay, so I need you to close out the AmFest, and I need you to do the staff meeting afterwards. And I was like, excuse me? He's like, yeah, you're closing out AmFest. And I was like, I am not closing out AmFest. He's like, yes, you are. And I said, what am I supposed to say? And he goes, you'll figure it out. That's why I married you. I was like, you always say that to me whenever we're in a position where we won't, like there's no script, there's nothing. He's like, baby, you'll figure it out. That's why I married you. So again, here we are. Right. So now we're opening AmFest. But what's so interesting and what I have learned so much within these past 3 months, again, the enemy. But he will never win. We know we're on the winning side. God is so good. So Charlie loved to share AmFest stats. So that's what we're going to do really quick. He would love for you guys to know that 80% of the attendees have never attended a tvOS event before. So thank you for everyone who is new. Welcome home. Turning Point USA is your home, and we're loving that you're here. 1/3 of the attendees are students. Yeah? We love our students. 54% are female attendees. Okay. We have 40 breakout sessions, 178 sponsors, all 50 states represented. We have 25 countries represented plus Puerto Rico, but I have the list here. Don't worry, guys. Egypt is not on the list. Don't worry about that. But, oh, how funny. I say Egypt and my iPad turns on. That's fun. Where were we? Okay. So anyways, the past 3 months I have learned a lot. You learn very quickly who is ready to go to war with you. You learn very quickly who thinks emotionally versus logically when you go through something as horrible that not only myself went through, but every single one of you in here that loved my husband. You find out who stays with you, who leaves. You find out a lot. You find out who's going to pray with you when there's no words left. And you also learn some unexpected things, like the fact that Joy Reid probably needs a really, really good hug. And honestly, I'm here for it if she needs it. I got a good hug for you. Good hug for you. I'll even touch the back of your head. But I love you guys. But here's what I've learned the most in these past 3 months is that my husband, he deeply mattered on a multitude of levels, so much so that it proved even more once he was assassinated how much of a peacemaker he was and how much of a coalition builder he was. Because when he was assassinated, we saw infighting, we've seen fractures, we've seen bridges being burned that shouldn't be burnt. We saw a lot on full display. And what I knew as a wife, and I'm the same exact way as him. If you are trying to put up fight or flight mode, we're always fight mode. We don't retreat. Charlie would go wherever he needed to go, and I'm the same exact way. Same exact way. And you'll learn that. You'll learn that about me the more that you get to know me. I know I'm new here. But you'll learn. You'll learn. Him and I were not afraid of that. And that's also why the past several months, several weeks, I honored my husband by completing all of his pre-planned fall media tour hits for his book, any commitment he had. I wanted to honor that for him. I wasn't going on a media tour myself. This was for my husband. Because in our household, our word is our bond. And when you give it, you uphold it. So I honored my husband that way. And so what I'm inspired by is the fact that Charlie and I, again, will go wherever we need to go, but so will you. That's why you guys are here. All of you are here because you know that you're sitting saying, I want to do something. So that's why you came here. You came here to meet other people, to know that you're not in this fight alone. You're here for a purpose. God made you for a purpose. Students, raise your hands. Out of those students, drop your hands. Put your hand up if you're in high school. Okay, all of you. I love it. I love my high schoolers. Charlie had a very special place in his heart for Club America. He's like, how could you not love Club America? All of you, again, going where you need to go. If your Club America is not set up or you want to set one up, step right into your admin's office. College students, raise your hands. Got a lot of them. So where you got to be willing to go is on your campus. That means either starting a chapter, joining a chapter, maybe even one day putting up a tent in the quad. We're not afraid. For churchgoers, hold your pastor accountable for biblical citizenship. Okay? There are so many ways to get involved. That's why Charlie built Turning Point USA the way he did. He didn't care your race, your age, your background. If Charlie listened to every single person that told him, you're too young to make a difference, you don't have enough connections, you're not going to do it, he would have let that noise consume him, and he would not have built the machine that he has built today. So don't you dare let anyone tell you you're too young, you're not smart enough, and you're not connected enough. As long as you're a part of Turning Point USA, we will empower you and give whatever you need to be able to make that come to life. Okay? Charlie wasn't just a speaker. He wasn't just a political thinker. He wasn't just a thought leader. Again, he was a bridge. He was a pathway. He was a connection point to generations. He was a pathway and connection point to communication, to inner politics. And he also looked at a generation that has been mocked, that has been dismissed, that has been discouraged, and told them, you matter, your ideas matter, your decisions matter. And he would say this country is still worth defending and still worth sacrificing for. So, like all of you, this is our turning point as well, especially as we move into 2026. And I want to share with you, off this paper, I'm not going to wing it this one because I want all of you guys to absorb the magnitude of these numbers. The number of student requests to get involved since 9/10, 140,000 plus get involved requests have been submitted since 9/10. 140,000. Total number of students involved, this is involved within Turning Point USA, 1 million plus students involved in Turning Point USA. Current chapter numbers as of December 18th, 2025, 3,082 Club America chapters, 1,432 college chapters. So that leaves 4,514 total chapters as of today. And we are starting 50 chapters per day at Turning Point USA. It's amazing. Something I also love right now is how we are getting some amazing state partnerships with Club America. I want to give a huge shout out to Oklahoma. Oklahoma's in the house. Florida. Okay. Indiana. Texas. Of course. And Tennessee. Another turning point for us for 2026 is the Make Heaven Crowded Tour, something I'm very excited about. For those of you who attended the memorial service, that revival is a slice of heaven that I'm going to make sure we take around this whole entire country. So we have different tour stops that are going to be coming up that I want you guys to be aware of. Feel free to take a picture whenever they put it up there. But if you're in any of these cities, we are bringing that to you. It's going to be amazing. God is so good. God is so good. I also want to note that our church partnership, since 9/10, we have over 8,000 church partnerships and counting. This one's very special to me. Charlie's love for debate will always be the DNA of Turning Point USA. We believe in debate because we believe in truth, and we believe in civil discourse because we believe that truth can withstand scrutiny. So that is why we will be launching the Pick Up the Mic initiative and getting back on campus for Prove Me Wrongs and campus tour events this spring and fall of 2026. I'm also really excited about everything that we're doing at Turning Point Action. We are locked in and mission focused for both 2026 and 2028. We're investing in states and not just in races. So what I mean by that is we are building the red wall, Arizona, Nevada, New Hampshire. That's going to be very important to us. We're going to ensure that President Trump has Congress for all 4 years. We are going to get my husband's friend, J.D. Vance, elected for 48 in the most resounding way possible. And for our hometown Arizona folks, are you guys in the house? Arizona? Go bigs or go home is where we're at right now mentally. But my husband didn't build this movement so people could feel comfortable. He built this movement so people could feel brave and to be brave with action. So people could see on full display that when you stop talking to people, especially those that you disagree with, you are the one that actually becomes weaker. Let that sink in. So you may not agree with everyone on this stage this weekend, and that's okay. Welcome to America. Charlie would have welcomed that. He believed disagreement was something not to be canceled. It was something to confront with clarity, courage, and grace. And Charlie loved truth way more than conformity. So this weekend for me personally is laced with nostalgia and it's laced with hope. But deeper than that, it's about carrying forward what Charlie built and ultimately what he gave his life for. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. The mission didn't end with Charlie's life. It's being lived out through each and every one of you in your own way. Again, it doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter your race, doesn't matter your background. AmFest is not about echo chambers. It's very important to know that because it's about sharpening one another. It's about digging deeper into ideas instead of retreating into slogans. And it's about remembering that freedom requires responsibility and truth requires courage. So my challenge to you this weekend is very simple. Don't just attend AmFest. Let it mark you. Let it stretch you. Let it challenge assumptions, strengthen convictions, and maybe even make you a little uncomfortable, because that's where growth happens, in those moments. Let it be another turning point in your life. Another moment where you decide not to drift, not to disengage, not to give into cynicism, but to stand up boldly, to be brave, to speak clearly, because that is how we are going to honor Charlie. We are going to honor him not just with words, but with action. So with that, welcome to AmFest. God bless you guys.
Isn't it nice, just as President Trump, the CEO of Turning Point USA, Erica Kirk, does not need a teleprompter to get her message out there. A stellar speech to open AmFest 2025, not only to honor Charlie, but freedom of speech and fighting for those principles, as I very much look forward to Pick Up the Mic Tour and Make Heaven Crowded tours come 2026. My hat's off and kudos to Erica Kirk, an extraordinary opening to a conference that I'm sure has changed many lives. And for you young people out there, those young people watching, to reiterate what Erica said, do be unafraid. It literally says that 365 times in the Bible, once a day. Be unafraid. Fear not. Go out there, and you are not too young to make a difference in your community. Go and stand and fight, 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 win, win, win for this country peacefully and patriotically. As we cover the latest from the Trump White House, thank you to Tax Network USA. It's tnusa.com/RSBN. Settle those back taxes today, whether you missed April 15th or October 15th or anywhere in between. Perhaps you started a business this year and it gets complicated. I can understand that. But protect yourself from the IRS with these experts, many of them having worked for the IRS or even having that accountancy background, and can help you with all of those back taxes. Do not let the federal government come after you, because they have pledged, including those not paying student loans, they will come knocking on the door. So protect yourself today with tnusa.com/RSBN. My friends over there at Tax Network USA, the experts in this field, 800-357-1415. Call today. Do not delay at 11:11 Eastern and 8:11 on the Golden West Coast. Venice.ai/RSBN, a great way to protect yourself over the phone or by text or email. 20% off with code RSBN. This is the leading AI technology to protect your persona online, because we've seen the leaks. We've seen Hillary Clinton and the bleach bit and other things over the years, especially the last decade, where information can get out that needs to be protected, that's actually private and that matters to you. So Venice.ai/RSBN, doing just that at the App Store at Google Play. 20% off right now with code RSBN. Easy to remember. Venice.ai/RSBN. Also, if you like what you see, we are your go-to live desk. We are your rally network as we prepare for 2026 and the midterms, which is sure to be historical. And Susie Wiles mentioning the chief of staff for President Trump. We are putting him out on the road, and he is going to campaign and win for candidates across the country, with maps changing in North Carolina, Texas, potentially Illinois, all the way out to California, although Prop 50 now being litigated in court. We know there's some new congressional maps out there, so that will send President Trump to places like Mount Pocono, Pennsylvania, or Rocky Mount, North Carolina, where he was the last couple of weeks, and we were right there on the ground with you to bring you unbridled access to your 45th, 47th President of the United States, the 50th Vice President, and the 119th Congress, as they're in the Christmas break getting ready for their second session in 2026. RSBNetwork.com/donate. You can text RSBN to 801-801. We also have an address for check or money order, 1550-1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, the loveliest village on the plains. It's Auburn, Alabama, 36830, 1550-1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. Thank you for supporting us here on the right side of history, as we want to bring you everything. We don't edit it. We show you the speeches, the press conferences in their entirety, the clips that can have consequences not only for this country, but your neck of the woods and what matters most to you in this golden era as we approach 250 years. You can also go get all America First updates and exclusive offers at rsbnetwork.com/newsletter, rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. Like, share, and subscribe. And also there you can see all of our great op-eds, columnists, writers here at the network that dive deep into crucial issues. For example, 162,000 of the 300,000 children lost under the Biden administration now found thanks to Tom Homan and the great warriors at Department of Homeland Security and the Border Patrol, amongst state, local, and federal law enforcement, including the DOJ and the FBI, as we cover the latest news from the Trump White House. A slew of news happening over the course of the last several days here, as we have some information for you regarding the Kennedy Center suit. We have Congresswoman Joyce Beatty suing President Trump to block the renaming of the Kennedy Center, claiming the board's vote was illegal. Not sure how that would be held up in court, but we'll see where all of that goes, as this president really fulfilling the mission of the 35th president, not only in peace and prosperity, true peace for the world, but also to fund and love the arts. We had leaks happening at the building. You had crumbling infrastructure. You had situations where people were not coming to perform at the Kennedy Center like they did in the past. And tonight, you can watch the December 7th Kennedy Center Awards on the prime time, 8 Eastern, as they will be on full display as the people honored this year. Gloria Gaynor to Michael Crawford, Kiss, the greatest band in the history of time, and also Sylvester Stallone and the King, George Strait. We know the left, they'll complain, no kings, but George Strait, the undisputed king of country music. And a fun group to have together, because as my family knows, those people were on repeat as I was growing up, whether watching Rocky or Rambo to listening to the great music of Kiss to George Strait and Gloria Gaynor. What an amazing group of people. And Michael Crawford, who inspired me, he actually performed with my voice teacher from high school in 2,000 performances of the Los Angeles edition, the West Coast Swing of Phantom of the Opera, one of the best musicals out there. That's pretty much my age. It started when I was born and just said goodnight and goodbye on Broadway. But we have a lot of off-Broadway productions, including one in Chicago, Illinois, happening right now at the Cadillac Palace Theater. So put that on your docket for holiday celebrations as we cover the latest news from the Trump White House. The Department of Justice dropping more than 11,000 new Epstein files as President Trump unveils a powerful new Navy Golden Fleet, the Trump class. We saw those clips yesterday. We'll rerun some of those during this broadcast as well. Also, a media miss by the far left. National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett predicting the largest ever United States tax refund cycle in 2026 during interviews over the weekend. And on Friday, President Trump suing the United States and demanding $230 million from the Department of Justice due to the illegal search and seizure at Mar-a-Lago from the Department of Justice dating back to 2022. And we saw that highlighted during the North Carolina speech where it was terrible what the government did, literally going into the drawers and personal items of our First Lady. There's a focus on the flu happening, and that's why we're really encouraging people to get Tamiflu and these remedies that can save you, these generic off-label options. As the CDC estimates, there have been 4.5 million flu cases and 2,000 deaths this year, with some dubbing this year's virus as the super flu. A new report showing that artificial intelligence laying off around 54,000 planned jobs for this year alone as we change in an economy that's going more of an intelligence direction. Also, the DHS triples its voluntary departure stipend to $3,000 for migrants who self-deport by year's end, warning of arrests for those who stayed. We have a Greenland dispute continuing as Denmark has summoned the U.S. ambassador after President Trump appointed the special envoy, Jeff Landry, the governor of Louisiana, a move the Danish officials are calling totally unacceptable. We'll watch that story as it goes to 2026. And a Russian general killed Monday when a car bomb exploded in Moscow under his vehicle. So we're watching all of those stories as they develop into the new year. If you were watching earlier in the broadcast, Nicki Minaj boldly proclaiming her fight for truth, her fight for Nigerian Christians and Christians all over the world, also including those who are focused on making America great again. And we'll have that clip for you after we thank some of our sponsors, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN for 10% off your medical needs today. That's RSBN 10, that code there. For Tamiflu, hydrochloroquine, ivermectin, NAD+, methylene blue, 300+ essential medications for you and yours this holiday season, leading up to January and February where the flu really kicks in. So get what you can now with its off-label generic options. All you need is a pharmaceutical note, no red tape, no bureaucracy, no insurance, no problem at all. Just a U.S. licensed doctor reviews your order, sends it right to your door within days. Scan the QR code there now for these life-saving options that many pharmacies do not prescribe. All Family Pharmacy, it's all in the pharmacy, a cherished season that they care for this time of year, and they care about you deeply. We are very happy to partner with an online pharmacy leading the way in the most favored nation status and the right to try executive orders and legislation President Trump has been supporting over the course of his first term and now into the 11 months of the second term of this administration. Allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, Kalshi.com/RSBN. Who will win the national championship on January 19th on the gridiron? Will it be the Buckeyes, the Hoosiers, the Bulldogs, the Crimson Tide, the Ducks? Could it be an upset in the works? We'll be tuning into all those bowl games as we celebrate the most wonderful time of the year. Who will be Times Person of the Year? Could it be AI or Jensen Wang? How about my Chicago Bears? Can they make it to the Super Bowl? And can they beat Mr. Producers, New England Patriots? Will they repeat the Super Bowl shuffle of Super Bowl 20 for Super Bowl 60? Kalshi.com/RSBN. All of those questions and more for sports, music, politics, and more. So much there that you could trade and bet on in the American story. Kalshi.com/RSBN. Also, thank you to AngelPace.com. /RSBN. Actually, you just don't even need the backslash, but you can do angelpaste.com. Experience the miracle that is the Vitamin B Miracle Cream that I use every day to keep my skin glowing and healthy all year round. But especially this time of year, a great stocking stuffer, an option for those who are hard to really shop for during Christmas time. We all have one of those friends or family members that does not like anything you get them. I'm telling you, they will love this, guy or gal. Also, the orange option, a vitamin C infused, non-GMO, non-chemical at angelpaste.com. And they also have the wonderful natural facial spray. So you can paint the town red with that on a Friday or Saturday night, or as you go to your Christmas celebrations. They are Christian owned. They hire veterans. They're out of Spring, Texas, off the Gulf of America. It's angelpaste.com. Thank you for sponsoring us on the right side of history as we look towards what's going to be a year unlike any other, a midterm unlike any other. Perhaps it's going to feel like a presidential year, that's for sure, as President Trump takes to the congressional districts that are brand new to the towns and cities, villages, rural and urban alike, to make his case to the American people on why $18 trillion of tariff money being brought into this country is good not only for domestic tranquility, but international security. He is rewriting the rules to globalization and helping to make America First agendas permanent in the 21st century. Nicki Minaj recognized that and recognizes the need to care for Christians around the world and also for our values and our Bill of Rights right here at home. In case you missed it, cut number 4 with Miss Nicki Minaj at the America First Summit and Conference all the way out in Phoenix, Arizona.
Well, I have the utmost respect and admiration for our president. He has, I don't know if he even knows this, but he's given so many people hope that there's a chance to beat the bad guys and to win and to do it with your head held high and your integrity intact. This administration is full of people with heart and soul. And they make me proud of them. Our vice president, he makes me, well, I love both of them, but they're both powerful men, smart, strong, all of that, but both of them have a very uncanny ability to be someone that you relate to. I can relate to them. When I hear them speak, I know that they're one of us. Like, I know that they're not. Don't you guys agree? They haven't lost touch of the world. You know, they're still connected to the world and what's happening in the world, with the younger people and older people, with the richer people and not so rich people. They have the ability to still connect and be real and make us feel proud to be American.
And I can relate as well to Ms. Minaj's comments. The American people are proud of their president, they're proud of their vice president, and they are incredibly relatable. We saw that last week in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. And there were Republicans in line, there were Democrats in line, and there were those with that First Amendment right to complain and jeer and boo and take a megaphone and criticize those standing in line. But the biggest difference that I noticed between those waiting to see their president last week and those complaining on the train tracks, the sense of decorum, the sense of peace, the sense of wanting to be there with their fellow man and to take in the front row of history peacefully and patriotically. It's a consistent theme at these rallies. It's a consistent theme as President Trump prepares to go out and support great MAGA America First candidates. It's bigger than one movement. It's bigger than one family. It's bigger than one person. It's all of us. And as I mentioned countless times, I want to say this year, that was the overarching theme as I focus back on the 2024 election. People have asked, Robert, what's the one thing that stuck out? Well, my private conversation, which I normally don't share, but I feel like I can share in this moment, because I want people to know that about the spirit of the president and also the spirit of our late, great Charlie Kirk. On the two occasions, I got some time with them during the 2024 campaign, just weeks until the November election, both of them in different ways saying, no, this is not about me, it's about we. Almost the exact same words. It's the kind of person Charlie was, as Erica was eloquently explaining in that opening speech to the Turning Point USA America Fest, to the president's comments and how he truly views this movement. It's not me, it's we. It's our movement. It's us together. And it's the people in every corner of this great country who are working to make America healthy again, wealthy again, safe again, ultimately great again by the everyday actions. And I think the events of the last year remind us to not only ask the question, what can we do to make our communities better, but how can I move forward with that? And I hope we reflect upon that as we enter into 2026, covering the latest from the Trump White House with cut number 5, President Trump jingling all the way to what should be less taxes and ultimately refunds for the American people, with his cabinet predicting just that, including Secretary Bessent at the Treasury. They tried, but nobody can stop POTUS from delivering the American people these tax refunds. You see the media chasing him there, and this media very happy, right, left, and center, to have President Trump back in office, because every day you get unbridled access to this president and to press conferences that we bring right to you here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Also, in addition to that, $1,776 going to roughly close to 1.5 million American service members this time of year. The checks were sent out on December 17th, and they should be in the mail, if not received by now. So a nice little stipend and refund to our amazing crew. Well, really a bonus to our American service members to honor the 250 years of this great country. $1,776 in the bank account for the people who serve us in an extraordinary way. Thank you to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN with the most must-have medications this time of year: Tamiflu, antibiotics, ivermectin, much, much more. Hydrochloroquine, NAD+, methylene blue. 10% off of these life-saving medications, over 300 in fact, for you there at All Family Pharmacy. So good to have on hand. The medications here are off-label, generic, and do not need insurance. But a pharmaceutical note, all of the U.S. doctors review it that they have on staff there at allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Gets to your door within days, and with emergency medical kits, you could take these 300-plus life-saving medications on the road with you. Again, they believe in most favored nation status and right to try with the off-label generics. Not all pharmacies will prescribe things like ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, NAD+, methylene blue, as well as the antibiotics and antivirals, Tamiflu, so important this time of year as the flu is skyrocketing. We believe in the sacred, cherished time of Hanukkah and Christmas to be together with family. Unfortunately, that pesky cold and flu likes to hang around during this time of year. RSBN 10 is the code for 10% off this life-saving medication. Also, Kalshi.com/RSBN to trade on the most important questions, from college football to other sports, music, culture, politics, and much, much more. the Buckeyes, the Hoosiers, the Bulldogs, who will win on January 19th. We know Montana and Illinois State, they're going to be in the Division I AA game on January 5th. So as Christmas rolls around, many fun bowl games to watch. Trade on all of them right here at Kalshi.com/RSBN. Scan that QR code there now. Trade on anything in the American experiment. Also, CovePure.com/RSBN. A last-minute gift, and for anyone who's hard to shop for, the holiday sale, $250 off right now. The two things that excite me most about this: if you like tea this time of year, I'll have some tea time, which is not on the golf course necessarily because it's a little bit too cold out there, but I'll grab a cup of tea myself. This reverse osmosis leader allows you not to put the water on the stove and then wait to steep it. It gets the water cold or hot, as you can see there, very quickly. Also removing 99.9% of the bacteria, viruses, fluoride, chemicals, agricultural runoff, hormone disrupting blockers like birth control out of the water system, out of your tap, with their Clearwave technology, leading the way in reverse osmosis systems. Also, if you rent, you do not have to worry about those fines you might pay when you move out, because a plumber does not have to come over to install holes and tubes and all of that with a reverse osmosis system. What you see is what you get in the image right there. No larger than your coffee maker at home. Protect what matters most, your gut health, because we saw what happened in Flint, Michigan just some years ago with Democrat leadership and the failure there of pipes and the infrastructure that were hundreds of years old. Lead seeped into the tap water, leading to brain cancer, to liver failure, to kidney disease, and gastrointestinal problems. Who needs that this time of year, if ever? The holiday sale, $250 off, CovePure.com/RSBN. We know Secretary Kennedy working hard to get the chemicals out of the water. And also with HHS, we have Utah and Florida joining them in that effort to make America healthy again, with legislation and their governors signing that legislation into law to remove fluoride out of the water. Drink pure, live pure with this holiday sale, $250 off, CovePure.com/RSBN. Truly a leader in the reverse osmosis arena. We'll take a quick commercial break for you here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Stick with us as we cover the latest from the Trump White House and all that's happened in recent days, as we will be with you right around the corner.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network, covering the latest from the Trump White House. President Trump is in Mar-a-Lago, Palm Beach, and we saw yesterday with his Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and the Secretary of the Navy, John Phelan, showcasing the new Trump class of warrior ships, from submarines to battleships. We are definitely taking on the Chinese Communist threat, as well as threats from around the world, but no threat from the free Sunshine State of Florida. Our dear friend Ashley Brassfield of Daily Caller. Thank you for joining us, Ashley. As we recap AmFest, you were there. Tell us about some of your interviews and the overall family arguments to the hugs and the celebrations that took place out west in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, friendly is one way to characterize it. We had a great time. It was a packed house at AmFest. I went to the first AmFest as a student back in the day, so this is my first experience working it with media, but we had some great interviews. We had Congressman Byron Donalds, Tom Tiffany, Mike Collins, Andy Biggs, so huge names in Congress, many of them running for Senate or gubernatorial races, of course, in their states individually. We also had people like Mark Mitchell stop by the booth, Andrew Colvett, of course, from Turning Point USA, Tyler Bauer, multiple other big names. Roger Stone is a huge one. He spoke on the last day. I had a great time speaking with him. We have a clip out on social media talking about who else other than Mr. President Nixon. So really enjoyed that talk with him. But so many others that we're going to have dropping actually today on Daily Caller website, so you can check it out there. And we had some great pieces, actually, print pieces coming out from our reporter, West Coast reporter, Haley Gomez, talking to students about, their, the topic of the rift currently in the conservative movement, some of that which played out at Turning Point USA, seeing what Gen Z really thought about that, and also talking to, people inside of Turning Point USA, what's going on there. So a lot of newsy stuff happening at this conference. Really enjoyed my time. We saw people from media, in politics, everywhere, even some celebrities that you would see stopping by, podcasters, all types of people. So that's kind of one of the things that you can find at those events, and that I really enjoyed talking about overall. But we go back to even Congress, what's going on right now. So getting to ask questions, what's going on going into 2026 for the GOP movement? What's going to be the angle? Affordability is one of those topics that we talked about. So, it's keying on those issues from some of those, candidates and people that are leadership in the GOP party was really important to us to ask about.
Yes, no question about that. And I had a CPAC moment during my Turning Point USA tenure when I first ran into Roger Stone. And we were actually up against a couple of barricades, and he was walking with his team, his security. And actually, this was during COVID. So we said hello to Mr. Stone, and he just took a moment and said, "Both of you gentlemen look very dapper." And I thought that was quite a moment coming from the gentleman himself, who knows how to dress at these events. And do you think, Ashley, it's good to have these robust discussions? Because personally, I feel like I'm somewhat in the middle of this. I don't want to encamp it as Megyn Kelly and Tucker versus Ben Shapiro and others like Mark Levin, but I feel like you can be pro-Israel and then also criticize their government. I feel like simply because you have a question about how a foreign government operates does not make you an anti-Semite. What say you about all of this as you got to experience everything on the ground?
Yeah, well, listen, I'm a reporter, so I just like to listen to a lot of people at these events, especially from Gen Z, because I think you're seeing kind of a split in the party when it comes to demographics specifically. We had students talk about how they were on Ben Shapiro's side. We talked about people who was on Tucker Carlson's. And, I think a lot of people understood Megyn as falling somewhere in the middle. And I think her main complaint and what we heard during her speech is she's not going to engage in the cancel culture. This is something that took place back in 2020, 2021, COVID era from the Democrats party. So that's, I think, really the main complaint also happening right now. Of course, this is kind of all encompassing, I think, one issue, and that being Israel, but this also talks about foreign policy overall. What is America first? But also this differentiation going on between what is MAGA and what is America first, which I think the MAGA link has more to do with President Trump, and he defines that, and what defines actual America first. That's what we were trying to get to the bottom of at this conference, and seeing what other demographics thought about this. And I mean, Gen Z is the next generation, so understanding that. And Charlie Kirk was somebody who very well understood that demographic, specifically young men, and we don't have him here anymore. So, who's going to be in the administration's ear? Who's going to be in President Trump's ear? And I've asked individuals at the White House the same question: who is that person now? And I think that's a question that a lot of people are still asking to this day. I don't think you're going to replace someone like Charlie Kirk with his background. He's one of one in that way. But who's going to take the place, and who's going to be the person in the movement that a lot more of the majority listen to? That's the question. But I think, Charlie, I think, would have appreciated appreciated, people having the stage. I don't know whether to bash each other. I don't want to speak for him on that issue, but I mean to, flush out the ideas. We saw this. He sat down with Megyn Kelly back at SAS, Charlie Kirk did, to talk about the same issue. So this is a continuation of that in light of Charlie Kirk's assassination. So Turning Point USA has always been a place where, ideas have played out in the last few months. This is nothing new. But it was an interesting first day, to say the least, where you had Ben Shapiro, who we actually saw on my flight out to Phoenix, and he was on the plane with us. And then we saw, the same day, Tucker Carlson responding to those. So I would say that first day of the Turning Point USA AmFest was interesting, but also cumulatively came together when we saw the vice president make his stance on the issue, as well as an appearance from Nicki Minaj, which I think no one was expecting at the time.
Well, and there's so much to break down there, because it's so true, Ashley, that it's millennials and Gen Z right now. If they register to vote, we have this unique time in American history where they actually make up the majority of the electorate. Very rarely is it these younger ages that actually overtake the older generations, especially because on average, people are living longer. Last time I checked, I think men around 75 or so, women about 10 years on them, 85 or so, give or take, in America with life expectancy. So that's important as we look to 2026 and 2028, ultimately, as Erica Kirk opening with that wonderful speech about unity. She's also someone who doesn't need a teleprompter like President Trump. And then the Vice President of the United States. I compare that speech really to something like Citizenship in the Republic by Teddy Roosevelt, or A Time for Choosing in the 1964 convention that nominated Goldwater by Ronald Reagan. I see that as the same, and I can't think offhand a more important vice presidential speech in that moment as Turning Point Action and Erica Kirk giving their personal endorsements to the Vice President of the United States, so he seeks the presidency, if he does, in 2028. But the interesting kind of caveat of all this discussion is where Senator Ted Cruz stands, because he's looking at 2028 seemingly, at least not necessarily being reported by his camp, but a lot of people are whispering that, and he's claiming that there is this anti-Semitism on the right. Was there any discussion of that within the halls of AmFest, and what might play out for younger people in the movement?
Yeah, so I would specifically, whenever we would have Gen Z come up to the booth to introduce themselves to us, I would ask them specifically about the rift going on, because I was curious of what their thoughts were. I fall in that generation as well, but I have an interest in hearing what the masses have to say that attend these events. And so I would ask them, what's your thoughts? A lot of young men specifically, how are you still liking JD Vance, going into this? Because I think there is this rift going on with President Trump and the conservative movement. He's leading the way currently, but is JD Vance affiliated with that in any way? Is there any change in demeanor from the Republicans of the younger generations with him? And they still have an excitement for JD Vance. I think, you saw pictures the day after he spoke at AmFest, and he was out in California, working out with the Navy SEALs. So I think you're seeing something where he's a relatable guy. They're trying to prop him up and message the right way going into 2026 midterms and going on to 2028 even. And I think they have to differentiate him in that way. The administration first pushed back on affordability, but now you see President Trump going on a tour for this. So they're recognizing that this is an issue that they're going to have to address going into 2026 midterms. And I think you're seeing that with JD Vance during that speech as well. He showed up to AmFest to specifically speak to that generation, and showed up. And I think you're seeing that, endorsement from Turning Point USA and Erica Kirk. And they're making a decision early on that, this generation really wants to see him as the next president of the United States, and whether he runs or not, that's the question. But I do think there was an excitement in the air still about JD Vance when we were at America Fest from the younger generations, that's for sure.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I'm going to add my name to that list with a complete and total endorsement to JD Vance. I think he really is the future. I like the unity calling. I like the amazing work this administration's done in 11 months. And I also think it harkens back to that 11th commandment of Ronald Reagan: do not speak ill of fellow Republicans. Democrats are quite good at behind their bench or behind closed doors being united and remaining united. And that President Trump has spoken that. So one thing about Hakeem Jeffries and his crew, they're good at remaining together as they continue their fight, although their messaging, I think, way off from middle America and from normal Americans. I was very curious about the Sean Ryan interview with Hunter Biden, especially that Hunter Biden is talking about the Epstein files all of a sudden, although his father refused to release them, although Democrats refused to release them. And the funny thing about it is I'm listening to this interview and I'm big on, that's why I'm very transparent about this. Anyone should be able to talk to, especially in our industry, anyone they wish to talk to, anyone they wish to discuss. And in Tucker's situation, it does not mean he's an agent of Qatar or an anti-Semite because he's simply talking to someone he might disagree with. But going back to the Sean Ryan interview, I thought about, wow, Hunter Biden has a lot of criticism, although he's refusing to raise one of his children with another woman, but he's all of a sudden so concerned about the actions or alleged actions of President Trump.
Right. Well, I think it's right for the American people to have a lot of skepticism towards Hunter Biden. I was watching the Patrick Bet David podcast with John Morgan, who owns Morgan & Morgan, a very interesting individual, large Democrat donor a lot of the time, has a lot of affiliation with these individuals that were former presidents and administrations. Just one of those people that has a lot of connections. And he talked about, Hunter Biden having an addict personality. And I think you can see that come across in many of these interviews and podcasts he's done. But I admittedly have not watched the 6-hour interview he has done with Sean Ryan. I've seen clips of the main issues like the Epstein, like many others, but that is on my Christmas list to be doing the entire 6-hour podcast. So looking forward to that. But yes, I mean, he's had criticism of the Afghanistan withdrawal, what's going on with the Epstein files. Of course, he took the time with the Epstein files to throw, President Trump under the bus, which I do think there is a lot of questions that have not been answered by the Trump administration. And that's something that was, very apparent all over social media. You've seen it now, Dan Bongino stepping down from the FBI. Whether that has anything to do with it, that is the question. But people have questions about this. I mean, members of Congress with the discharge resolution from Thomas Massey, threats that were Republicans that signed on to that received. Those type of interactions and everything that played out in these last few months have left the American public still wanting to know more about Jeffrey Epstein. And that's just, the truth in this sense. But this, an interview specifically with Hunter Biden, there was a lot talked about. You saw a reaction from him with his brother that in a way humanized Hunter Biden. And you can tell there's grief there. He seems very troubled in a lot of ways. And I think he himself admits that and the embarrassment he's caused his family. But this is a complex individual. We even go into the laptop that was, covered up during the 2020 election with the New York Post. He talks about that, Miranda Devine. So many topics covered by Hunter Biden, but you kind of get to see what type of person he is. And then you also mentioned the fact that one of his, Joe Biden's grandchildren, they have not accepted, of course, London Roberts, the, woman he, I believe, had an affair with at the time. During that, if not, during his drug addict years, I would say. So lots covered in this interview. I think it's fair that Sean Ryan sat down with him, answered questions, because I don't think we've seen that from a conservative-sided podcast. And I wouldn't even know if I'd call Sean Ryan a conservative-sided podcast, but somebody in a long-form way sitting down with Hunter Biden, asking the questions that so many people wanted to hear, and somebody who had so much access to the White House at the time, especially at the end of the presidency of Joe Biden, and the Democrat Party, obviously the Biden family, wrong in a lot of ways. I think they would admit that themselves, but also the cover up from staffers of Joe Biden at the time. There's so much complexity to this situation that it's nice to hear from somebody finally from the Biden family or the Biden administration.
Yes, and everyone deserves their time to make their case, to make their peace. And I feel maybe we can get better as a society going into the golden era in 2026 for our birthday as 250 years a nation, that people will not necessarily be, for lack of a better term, chastised or destroyed based on addiction, on problems and all of that. My biggest concern is the illegal activity potentially of the Bidens. Also, the fact that Hunter should raise his child. I think that's big. Every kid deserves a mom and a dad. And especially if people of that means and as wealthy as they are, you think that he would want to have the child in his life as he did father her, brought her into the world. But, that is for them to ultimately decide. Now, how about some predictions on 2026? We know Elise Stefanik leaving the New York governor's race. And speaking of being a great parent, wants to raise her kids. I can totally understand that, leaving the public space, as she claimed, and not running for re-election. Is there more to it? Because I thought she would have been a slam dunk in the Empire State.
Right. Well, to give you some kind of insider DC that is the main focus here on this case, we started seeing some risks happen between Elise Stefanik and Speaker Mike Johnson over the defense bill that was being put in. One of her provisions was taken out during conferences. For what I was hearing from sources, specifically people like Jamie Raskin were involved in that. And it sounded like Stefanik was not having any part of it. I'm assuming went behind closed doors, told them that. Nothing happened on the Republican side. So she went public with it on Twitter. And I think that was kind of shocking to many due to the fact that, she's been very close to President Trump as well as House leadership. She sits in a position and even did prior to her UN ambassador, putting her into that position, which she was ultimately taken out of at the time. But there's been eyes on this because of the Marjorie Taylor Greene case, specifically in the rift that happened with the Trump administration and her, and of course now ultimately leaving Congress. So there's questions, what's going on with the GOP women that I was seeing. You see Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's on one side of the Israel issue, Stefanik on the other. So there is differences there. But, it left a lot of us leaving the question, what's going on? Well, following the provision that week, you saw her at the Lake Placid Olympic hockey team medal ceremony in the Oval Office right next to President Trump, pictured right next to him. And then just days later, you see a tweet from her leaving Congress. Well, we did a report the day before, kind of what's going on with the Trump endorsement in that state. And of course, she was running for governor of New York and was primarying Bruce Blakeman that had just come in a week earlier. So there was questions going on during that time. Why isn't Trump immediately endorsing Stefanik, who's been really a cheerleader during this entire last 10 years of the president, not immediately during his 2016 presidential run, but slowly became the face of MAGA in a lot of ways, like Marjorie Taylor Greene. So there was questions from a lot of individuals, including us. So we started asking them, and just a day later, Stefanik pulls her primary bid. Following President Trump does a endorsement for Bruce Blakeman, which we did not see in 2020 when Lee Zeldin was running in the state. It was actually 4 months after Zeldin won the primary that President Trump endorsed him. So very specific political things happening there. But I think it came as a shock to many in Washington, D.C. to see Stefanik pull not only out from Congress, but her gubernatorial bid in a state like New York.
Very interesting to watch as many of these maps redrawn as well. So we will see President Trump on the road in 2026. And not to put you on the spot, Ashley, but is there a story, an interview, something that was a highlight of 2025, perhaps a big moment? And what are some of your predictions for 2026? Mine, I'll share, is I think Russia and Ukraine will finally come to an end around springtime. And thanks be to God for that, because so many people, both civilian and military, on the Ukrainian and Russian sides have suffered so much because of two feckless leaders, in my own opinion. But any highlights from this year and predictions for next year?
Yeah, I think one of the main highlights, I personally moved to Washington, D.C., but I had the opportunity to ask the president a question at the Kennedy Center honorees ceremony. It was quite a moment that the president was able to pick on me, and I got to ask him about, how involved he was in the process of picking those nominees. Of course, during this Christmas season, we saw that play out with people like Kiss, George Strait showing up. So it was kind of a reminder of that for me. And it was just being on the campaign trail, of course, with RSBN in the past, was a great honor to be able to ask the president a question, something very unique and I'll never forget. But as far as predictions go, of course, I think, I have a lot of, predictions when it comes to primaries going on all across the country. We've done 2 pieces with Democrat primaries. I think specifically the one I'm interested in is Georgia 14th, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene's district, and how many people jump in the race, which I have a feeling it's going to be in the teens, which I'm seeing a lot of endorsements happening there. So very specific, but going to be focused a lot on campaigns, I feel, in the future. So looking forward to a lot of those.
Yeah, it's a big one to watch. I think a multitude of people who are friends of both of ours will be jumping into that race in Northwest Georgia, focused right there in Rome, a gorgeous place to visit just outside of Atlanta. But you're doing amazing work as our eyes and ears in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill. It is Ashley Brassfield. I have to say, I loved that red carpet at the Kennedy Center because young Bobby, or those who knew little Bobby, knew he loved George Strait. Sylvester Stallone, Kiss, Gloria Gaynor, Michael Crawford. It's kind of my dream. So tonight I'm looking forward to watching the Kennedy Center in the prime time as it was recorded.
Perfect. It's happening tonight. I didn't know that.
It's tonight. It's tonight. Yeah, December 7th. It went down, but what a red carpet that was. And what an inspiration when you look at a band like Kiss, because they really harken back. I mean, everyone was grateful for the award, but when you look at what they were talking about, these guys came from nothing in our little band, only in America, to be there with the President of the United States. And I thought a good reminder, Gene Simmons saying, well, it doesn't matter who I supported or who I voted for. This is America, and it's about being able to break bread with everybody. So a lot of common sense from the guys who dressed up in face paint and hid their identity for a long period of time. A band unlike any other. But we wish you, Ashley, and your wonderful family a very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. Thank you for all of your contribution here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. We look forward to our continued partnership with Daily Caller, an amazing organization. Where can everyone find you in case they're just tuning in to Right Side Broadcasting Network?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Brassfield Ashley and on Instagram, Ashley E. Brassfield. You can also find me on TikTok, Facebook, all the platforms. Just type in my name, you'll probably find me there. But thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys always having us on, platforming us, and Merry Christmas to you guys and all the viewers.
We will see you very soon. Ashley Brassfield with the Daily Caller. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And as we cover the wrapping up what is one of our last broadcasts of 2025. A programming note, we will have the Voice of Reason a little bit later today for a Christmas special for you. You will not want to miss that in the early afternoon here. We're looking at roughly a 1 o'clock start time for that on the East Coast. Of course, you can scrub back and watch all of that. We will post that to our socials. And again, this will be our last live broadcast until Monday and Tuesday of next week. So again, have yourself a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year as we thank our sponsors, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, 10% off of the medications that you need and love, especially going into the strongest point of the flu season. We are seeing a super flu happening right now. So get that Tamiflu, especially come January and February. Hard to find them on the shelves. Antibiotics, antivirals, as well as ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, methylene blue, NAD+, the off-label generics that can literally save your life and other pharmacies won't necessarily prescribe. So make sure to have those on hand. Code RSBN10. Scan the QR code there now. It's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. No insurance needed. Simply a pharmaceutical note. A U.S. licensed doctor will review the order, send it right back home to you where you ordered it from. It's a great partnership here, Right Side Broadcasting and also All Family Pharmacy. The key of that, it's family. That's what matters in this cherished season of Hanukkah and Christmas as we get together. And that togetherness sometimes brings us the cold and the flu. So get prepared this time of year. Also to Neutronics, our latest sponsor here on the right side of history. Men, stay strong with the testosterone crisis hitting the country like never before. But that's why Neutronics Labs exist to help men fight back naturally. Legendary boxer Roy Jones Jr. knows how to stay in the game and to stay dangerous. Frank Stallone knows it too. Real men don't fade away. They fight back. And that's why they stand behind Man's Edge. From Neutronics Labs, it's the only testosterone booster on the market, powered by the world's strongest, purest IGF-1, combined with clinically backed ingredients like fenugreek, shown to naturally increase testosterone by 46%. And this is not a weak delivery. It's a delivery bringing Man's Edge back with fusing a patented liposome delivery system along with nitrous oxide designed for up to 98% absorption in your body. Actually using what you take. More strength, more drive, more confidence. Be the man you ought to be. This is about making men great again. No excuses, no apologies, no backing down. Visit neutronicslabs.com/rumble. That's neutronicslabs.com/rumble. Hit the link in the description and you will be set to go. As we remember, some of those we lost this year with quick quotes from these people, right, left, and center, who really had their effect on not only Western civilization, but the world. We lost truly some legends this year. Robert Redford, Speaking of how he loved performing, it's agony, but it's also terrific. Pope Francis asking the question, who am I to judge? Diane Keaton, I knew what I wanted in life and I went after it. Malcolm Jamal Warner, the Huxtables could not represent all black people. We're showing you different facets of black life. Rob Reiner, you could use your celebrity, your good fortune to help make some change. Jane Goodall, we should be kind to animals because it makes better humans for all of us. My dear friend, the late, great Charlie Kirk. There's ugly speech, there's gross speech, there's evil speech, and all of it protected by the First Amendment. Legendary actor Gene Hackman, if you're really interested in acting, there's part of you that relishes the struggle. I could definitely relate to that quote. Tom Stoppard, I would like ultimately before being carried out feet first to have done a bit of it, absolutely everything. Roberta Flack, music reaches beyond age, race, nationality, religion into all of our hearts. Ozzy Osbourne, I'll retire when they put the effing king nail in the lid. And D'Angelo saying the question ain't, do we have resources to rebuild? It's, do we have the will? George Foreman, the great boxer, when you first look across the ring, every guy looks 8 feet tall. You've got to be brave. Sly Stone, in the end, you'll still be you, one that's done all the things you set out to do. And Diane Ladd, art is just a mirror, and that's why we go see the movies, to learn more about who we are. In addition to Val Kilmer, Dick Cheney, Brian Wilson, Michelle Trachtenberg, our thoughts and prayers with all of those who passed away this year and their families as well in this season of giving. Remember, if this is an easy time of you for the year, invite those in for the celebration. If it's a more difficult time, think about how you could slow down, open that Bible, get involved in your community and within your church to make your community great again. It's been an honor being with you at this live desk over the course of the last calendar year. We sure are excited for 2026. Be sure to tune into a special edition of The Voice of Reason later today. We're aiming for that 1 o'clock start time, roughly a couple of hours from now on the East Coast. A very Merry Christmas to you and yours. For all of my colleagues here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, I'm Robert McNeely. I bid you adieu, and I will see you in the new year. Have a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and God bless you and yours.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.
Welcome.